Stop, I'll be your obedient wife, Apache widow begged in tears while the cowboy's gun rose. Part 2, The Promise Under the Desert Moon. Wild West stories, moments of love. The years had softened the desert, and the desert had softened them. What began as survival had become something deeper, something that felt like fate itself. Cole Matthews and Nia, the widow once broken by war and loss, now lived in a small cabin surrounded by the endless horizon of sagebrush and whispering wind. It was a quiet life, one built from pain, forgiveness, and the kind of love that didn't need words. But peace in the Wild West was like a mirage, beautiful, fragile, and always one shadow away from disappearing. One early morning, before dawn, Cole woke to the sound of a horse approaching from the distance. It was rare, no one came to the Mercy Ranch uninvited, and those who did usually carried trouble. He reached for his old rifle, his instincts still sharp, though his hands had grown slower with age. When the rider came into view, his breath caught. It was a boy. No older than 16, thin as a rail, his horse exhausted, his clothes torn. The boy stumbled off the saddle, barely able to stand. "You Cole Matthews," he gasped. "They told me you were the one who helped people." Cole and Nia brought him inside, gave him water, bread, and rest. When the boy finally spoke again, his words carried a storm. His name was Jacob, and he was running from a ruthless outlaw named Clay Harker, the same man who'd once ridden with Cole during the war. Clay was a name that tasted like dust and blood, a ghost Cole had hoped never to face again. Jacob explained that Clay and his gang had burned down his town after his father refused to sell his land. Jacob's family was gone, only he had escaped. And now, Clay wanted something buried deep in that land, a stash of Confederate gold hidden before the war ended. As the boy spoke, Cole felt the weight of his past return like a chain dragging through his chest. He had once known where that gold was buried. He had once ridden beside Clay. And if Clay was still alive, then the darkness Cole thought he'd buried was coming back for him. Nia saw the look in his eyes, that old pain, that old guilt, and knew the man she loved was being pulled into another battle. She wanted to stop him, to beg him to stay, but she also knew the truth: some wars a man cannot run from. That night, under the desert moon, Cole sat outside while the coyotes howled in the distance. Nia joined him quietly, her shawl wrapped tight against the cold. He looked at her, his eyes tired but resolute. "I can't let that boy face Harker alone," he said. "I started this years ago. I have to finish it." She nodded slowly, tears glistening in her dark eyes. "Then I'll go with you." He tried to protest, but Nia silenced him with a touch. "You once saved me when I had no reason to live. Now it's my turn to stand beside you." The next morning, they rode out together, an aging cowboy and an Apache woman, bound by love and scars, riding toward the ghost of his past. They reached the burned town by sunset. Smoke still rose from the ruins, curling into the bruised sky like memories that refused to die. Cole found tracks, fresh ones, leading toward an abandoned mine in the hills. The boy, Jacob, insisted on going too. "He killed my father," the boy said, his voice shaking. "I can't just hide." Cole saw himself in that boy, the anger, the helplessness, and nodded. "Then we end it together." Inside the mine, the air was thick with dust and danger. The sound of dripping water echoed like a clock counting down. And then, from the shadows, came a voice Cole had prayed never to hear again. "Well, I'll be damned," Clay Harker sneered, stepping into the light. His beard was gray now, but his eyes still gleamed with that same cruelty. "Didn't think you had the guts to come back, Matthews." Cole leveled his rifle. "You burned homes, Clay. Killed families. Whatever gold you're hunting, it's cursed. Leave it." Clay laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that bounced off the mine walls. "Cursed or not, it's mine. Always was." Gunfire erupted. The sound thundered through the cave. Cole fired once, twice, then dove behind a rock, pulling Nia with him. Jacob screamed as a bullet grazed his arm, blood splattering the stone beside him. The fight was brutal, short, and heavy with fate. Cole's shoulder burned from an old wound, but his aim was steady. When Clay finally staggered forward, his pistol raised for a final shot, Cole didn't flinch. He looked the man in the eyes, the man who had destroyed everything he once believed in, and whispered, "It ends here." The gunshot echoed like thunder. Clay fell. Silence filled the mine, broken only by Nia's ragged breath. Cole dropped his rifle, exhausted. Jacob knelt beside him. "Is it over?" Cole nodded slowly. It's over. Dash dash dash. Days later, back at the ranch, Jacob helped them rebuild what the fight had damaged. He stayed on, helping with the horses and crops, calling Cole, sir, and Naya, ma'am. Slowly, the boy began to heal, his grief softening under their care. The Mercy Ranch had gained another soul. One evening, as the sun melted into gold across the horizon, Naya placed her hand over Cole's. You gave him back his life, she whispered. Cole smiled faintly. No, he said, we did. The two sat in silence as the stars bloomed above the desert. Their journey, from fear and loss to love and redemption, had come full circle. And though time would eventually claim them both, the mercy they gave would outlive them, carried by every life they touched. Dash dash dash. If this story moved your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Moments of Love. Let's keep these tales of courage, love, and second chances alive beneath the open sky of the Wild West. And before we close this chapter, leave a comment below. Speech balloon: would you have ridden into the storm for someone you loved, even if it meant facing your past? Your stories and words give life to ours. Heart.